Welcome to another edition of Gopher Basketball Weekly with Golden Gopher head coach Ben Johnson, presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors, Mike Grimm and Justin Gaard, along with the head coach Ben Johnson. And we have a lot to talk about, certainly, looking back at a couple of games last week into the weekend, and then a look ahead to the game tomorrow night, fourth-ranked Purdue coming to Williams Arena. JG, good to see you today.
Good to see you, man. Ready to talk some basketball. Thanks for having me, as always.
Yeah, and you had a call of a victory over the weekend. The Gopher women got Wisconsin at home right down to the wire, huh?
It was, yeah, right. Final possession. Good crowd at the barn. It was great. Good border battle victory. They've won 5 in a row against the Badgers, so that's always a good thing. It was fun, a lot of fun.
All right, and of course, the Gopher men were in Madison and taking on number 11 ranked Wisconsin. The head coach, Ben Johnson of the Gophers, joins us, coach. And, man, you guys clawed your way back from down 9 a couple of times and tied it at 60-60 with a couple of Stevens free throws. I think it was about 2:23 left at that point. And you had positioned yourself, and I know that's kind of where you head into a game like that, where you're facing a team ranked in the top 11, I guess, as number 11, is give yourself a shot late, and you certainly did that.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially in league play, you want to do everything you can throughout the course of the game to give yourself a chance in those last, 2 to 4 minutes. And our guys did that. I think, EJ had a great look that he makes, probably 9 times out of 10 that did everything but go in. And the thought process with that is, if he shoots that with around, 50, 53, 54, we're going to have a chance to get the ball back and have an opportunity to get a road win. And it was right there. I thought he did a great job of, just driving it like we wanted to and got to a spot, but it's that close, and that's why I told the guys in the locker room, it's like we're right there. And, eventually we're going to break through. Don't know when it's going to be, but if they keep doing what they're doing and putting themselves in a position to win, eventually it's going to break through.
Well, nobody likes losing, but when you say what, like you said after the game, we did what we wanted to do. We hit some of the goals that we wanted to hit. And like EJ shot, like you said, he did exactly what you wanted to do. Dumb to say, is it easier to live with it there? But can you, I guess, move on and get over it faster? Because he said, hey, we're doing what we want to do. It just didn't work out that day.
Yeah, I told him, I think there's losing, and then I think there's learning. Like they're two different things. I think when you lose, versus Illinois, I think we lost. Like we weren't really in the fight. We didn't really give ourselves a chance. But I think if you look at, Michigan State and even Iowa, Ohio State for that matter, and obviously this past game versus Wisconsin, I think it's more of a learn where, you're right there, you're in a position to win, and now you've got to learn from it and correct it so that it doesn't happen again in a late type situation. So whether that's, we had a rebound that, we didn't get late, but for the most part, I thought we rebounded better than we did the previous game. It's just little execution things that we can learn from. But to stay in the fight, I think, is the whole goal. It doesn't do any good if you're playing these games and you're losing and you have no shot. I think the beauty in it, I guess, if you could find one, is that, we're being competitive and we're right there. And so now it's remaining confident and not changing a lot of what we do, but just in that last 2-minute stretch, it's just we got to find a way.
And you mentioned E.J. Stevens' shot. There was maybe the possession before, or maybe it was 2 possessions before, you'd cut it to 3, and Peyton had hit a couple of tough threes, and we saw what he did against Rutgers, and he took a 3, and, if that goes, it's a tie game all of a sudden, and it's just that's the margin of error, right, that you're dealing with. It's literally a shot made or missed can lead you on a track of winning or losing.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no question, I think Peyton, especially when it comes to closing time, has a pretty good feel. And he's a pretty good feel, not only for good shot, bad shot, but like, is he in the flow? Is he not? And I thought in the second half, he did a good job of getting in the flow. So when he took that, I think everybody on our bench thought it had a pretty good chance of dropping. And you're almost more surprised when it doesn't. But, it didn't. And again, we can't, lose our resolve. I told our guys yesterday, it's like, you got to have that mentality. It's a new month. We got to turn the page. There can't be any bad days. And we got to figure out, just a way to close it. And, I respect everything else about the process so far with what they've done. They've proven that like when they stay in the fight, they make it tough for the opponent. And like I said, there's no better feeling than that. I mean, you want to, especially on the road, you just want to give yourself a chance. We talk about that over and over. It's just let's give ourselves a chance and then see what happens.
Where do you put Johnny Davis in the pecking order of players that you've seen this season?
I think the thing he does really well is he's so under control. Doesn't get sped up. I thought for the most part, we did a pretty good job, and we think we held him 7 under his average. But his length, his ability to post up, obviously he was a big time rebounder in that game. He just got a smooth sense to him. He's always under control. He's a good athlete. I would be shocked if he's not a top 10 pick just because, he's got so much growth still to get to. And you look at the jump he made from last year to this year, it's pretty impressive.
Do you let him know that after the game? Say, hey, you're a top 10 pick. You should go see it. I know Madison's cool, but go ahead. It's cool if you want to go to the NBA. It's right there for you.
Yeah, I tell all these guys, hey, man, you're ready. You're ready. You go on that handshake line. You just tell them that was impressive, huh? You're ready.
Yeah. Nothing else you can do at this level.
No,
Nothing else.
I'll enjoy paying to see you play next year. Get out of here.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, how much time, whether it's Keegan Murray or Johnny Davis or players in the league, do you spend as a staff, putting together the plan? Because obviously they've got other players as well, but he certainly makes that whole thing go. I mean, he's got his own teammates saying he's the best player in the country. I mean, we'd be foolish not to roll with him. So when you're preparing for something like that, how much time do you spend on an individual of, should we try this? What should we do here? Can we switch things up on him? Because I have to, Matt. I mean, he's number one in everybody's scouting report. So I'm curious kind of the time you spend on that.
Yeah, no, we spend a lot. And I think, especially with the elite, you're talking about a guy that's a potential lottery pick. That's numbers have been so productive. The end result isn't going to be shutting them down. You're not going to shut down Johnny Davis. You're not going to shut down Kofi. You're not going to completely, Murray. He's not going to go scoreless. I think the goal is, okay, what do they like to do? And then how do we make that as tough as possible? How do we make their catches tough? How do we not let them get to their spots? How do we force just contested shots and make them have to earn each and every one? I mean, there was a couple that he buried because he is who he is. And there's nothing more, you could have done. Hand in the face, you're there, you force them to take a tough two, and he just makes it. But that's why those guys are what they are. So it's a balance, though, because like I said, they're going to probably end up getting numbers. You just don't want them to explode. But at the same time, you don't want to put so much into them getting numbers when all of a sudden, they're having a solid night, but your focus is so much on them that now all of a sudden their supporting cast has really good nights. Right. And now you're looking at, oh my God, we got a triple head or a 4-head monster here. So I think it's finding that balance of, okay, let's guard this person well, and let's force A, B, C, and D. But at the same time, we can't negate these other guys, because if we do, then all of a sudden now we're dealing with 4 problems versus just 1 or 2.
Well, and you mentioned that you had held him in check. We mentioned in the open, it was 60-60. You guys fought back to tie it at 223. At that point, Johnny Davis had 10 points. He's averaging, 22.5. And then in that last 223, he gets the big offensive rebound. He hits 2 field goals and 2 free throws. And he scores the final 6 points for them. And then you guys end up going scoreless. So when you got a guy like that, a go-to guy, even when he's been held in check, when it came really time at the end, he made some plays that, that ended up winning the game for him.
Yeah, he did. And again, credit goes to him. It's one of those deals where, you still as a coach, you feel like, you defensively, you did the right thing, that you forced it, he had to get those, 6 points late. But that's the position you want to be in. You want to force for that to happen versus the game totally being out of hand and there's nothing you can do about it. I'd much rather have it be that where, okay, it's closing time. He's going to get a look. Let's see if we can defend it. I think you take that 10 times out of 10. So, the good thing is we get to, a couple of these teams, we get them back. at our place, and they're one of them. So I know our guys will be looking forward to it, and see what we can do the second time around.
One thing you mentioned in the pregame show when I asked you about him, about Davis, your initial answer, your initial first sentence was, yeah, it seems like every game we're going up against somebody like this. And I got thinking, I was watching some of that Penn State Iowa game last night, and you think about in the league, you've got Murray, as Gaardsy's mentioned, and Murray and Davis are interesting. They were freshmen last year, averaging 7 points a game. And now they're sophomores this year, both, amongst the leaders in the country, 20 plus. And then you got Kofi, you got Trace Jackson Davis, you've got Ivy and Edie and Travion at Purdue. You've got Murray, Liddell, who you've faced, Dickinson, who you've faced. First of all, I'm a voter on all Big Ten. What 5 there do I pick for team 1? Because there's going to be about 4 guys that probably on most years would be on there. I mean, it's a tough league right now, and you guys have faced them all, right?
Yeah. Well, and, you didn't mention one player off Michigan State who's probably got a chance. He's got a chance to win the league too. Max Christie's playing
for sure
basketball. But
and even Jamison. I mean, Jamison's like the 5th leading scorer in the league at 18 a night, Yeah.
No, it shows. I think this year, I was talking to somebody, this year might be the deepest as far as just like NBA talent that the Big Ten has had in a long time. Like, we're going to probably have, 3 to 4 first rounders potentially. But then overall, even in the second round, even in, 2 ways, like this has got to be the most NBA talent the Big Ten has had. So it is. It just feels like every team you go up against, they got at least one. And now we're, going to play a team on Wednesday that might have 3, 1 for sure, 2, even if he's not, he's just a freak of nature. It challenges the game plan a little bit. It makes it exciting. I mean, it's good for the league. But as you're coaching it and scouting and watching it, just like, man, we get no breaks. But then conversely, you're also like telling your staff, that's what we need. We need to develop one of those.
Find one. Yep.
Yeah, we need somebody to have the summer where they go from 7 points to 23. And then we got to recruit somebody who's got and mooks and moves like some of those dudes. Because obviously talent matters.
Was that why you look a lot younger in your opening news conference when you got the job? I mean, you look fresh in that pic. It's like the president on the first day, and then they fast forward to year 8. You look fresh that day. I mean, I love you. You don't look like that anymore. That's only a couple months ago. It
wears you down. It wears you down. No, it's part of the grind, Yep. But I'll take it. I'll take it any day.
I think you look all right, Coach. You're looking good, man. All right. We have to take our first break here. We'll do that right now. But first, we want to tell you that Sunbelt Business Advisors should be on your team roster if you're buying or selling a business, and there's never been a better time to sell than right now. Get your Sunbelt no-cost confidential business valuation today. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com. That's sunbeltminnesota.com. We thank them for their support of Gopher Athletics and our show here today. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield. Welcome back. It's more of Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson, Mike Grimm, and Justin Gaard, along with the head coach. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, the tip. We'll take air at 5:30 all across the great state of Minnesota. The Gophers and 4th-ranked Purdue. Tickets still available, gophersports.com. Our show presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors. Go to sunbeltminnesota.com. Coach, we, in the previous segment, mentioned all those great players that you have faced. And when you look at the schedule, you guys have 7 losses now, all conference losses. You were undefeated in the Big Ten. All 7 of those teams are ranked in the top 30 of the net rankings, which, of course, is the formula used to pick which team should be in. And this is going to, I'm not trying to make anybody mad, but you look at the schedule and there's no guarantees. Like Penn State beat Iowa last night. Northwestern beat Michigan State. You guys have beaten Michigan on the road. So there's no guarantees. That said, you're the only team now in the Big Ten that hasn't played at least once against Nebraska, Penn State, Northwestern. And again, I'm just saying you want to, at some point you'd like some sort of a confidence builder. There's no guarantees on any of those. You might lose them all. I don't know, but it's been a tough schedule, I guess, is the basic situation you've got going here through this first stretch of the Big Ten slate. Yeah. January
was aggressive. But, I tell our guys, I think it's building, who we're going to become. And again, you know, you got to play them at some point. So you might as well play them early and see where you're at, be able to learn from it and grow from it. You know, I remember as an assistant here, I forget which year it was, but, you know, we didn't have a very good January. I think we only won maybe 2 games, but then we won the entire month of February.
15.
Finishing, you know, really, really strong. And I told our guys that story and just said, you know, that's why you got to learn from every game, win or lose, because it just takes one to go on a roll. And I said, you know, there's proof. I lived it. I saw it. You know, February can be really fun for us if we've taken January and we've learned from it and we've grown. And they have the right mindset, the right mentality with it. I think they have, for the most part, learned. And so now that's the expectation is, okay, you know, this is a new month, a new page. Let's attack it and see if we can't finish strong. Because I think, you know, this league will always be decided in like the last week, 2 weeks. I think like most leagues in the country, that's just the way it goes. And you want to be hot at the right time and you want to finish well. I think that's key. You know, you want to be entering, you know, the Big Ten tournament, entering March with momentum and playing your best basketball. And, you know, there's no reason why we can't do that as long as we continue to stay healthy and keep building.
Yeah, I think that year you guys had lost 5 in a row in January and then went on a 7, maybe an 8-game win streak. And I remember I remember that win at Maryland and no one thought the Gophers were going to win that game. And there was a couple others in there. I think you upset Purdue, who might've been in the top 10 at that time, and no question. And that's the change. You know, 2 losses can turn into 5 as we saw that year. And then 2 wins turns into 7 or 8. I forget exactly how many. And you end up being the 4 seed in the Big Ten tournament that year.
Yep. No, exactly. And, I think that's just the reality of it. Like you can't change or tweak the schedule. Like it is what it is. You got to play who's ever on there. And so it's finding the best way to navigate that and to learn from it and to still gain confidence. I think that's huge, is that regardless of what happens, regardless of outcome or situation, you got to stay confident in who you are and what you're doing.
Well, believe it or not, I mean, you have a guy on your team that was on that team, and Eric Curry. I mean, that was his freshman year. And I remember all those plays that he made that freshman year, but I kind of a roundabout way to say, what's it mean to have him back? Obviously missed some time. I know he wanted to go Thursday, said he was just in a little bit too much pain still, but to have him gut it out and be back there, what's that mean?
Oh, it's huge. I think everybody saw, you know, the difference he makes, especially defensively, you know, versus Wisconsin. I mean, he's just, not only is he just kind of the anchor of our defense, but he just has that presence to him that I think gives everybody else confidence. You know, he's able to navigate and communicate within our man, within our zone, get people organized. He's able to defend one-on-one in the post. You know, life is better with a healthy Eric Curry out there. So, you know, probably played him more minutes than I definitely planned on. You know, checked in with him a bunch and he kept saying he was feeling good. So, you know, hopefully he just keeps getting stronger and that ankle keeps getting stronger and we're able to have a productive EC to finish out the second half of the year.
Well, and when you look at, you know, a lot of attention, and you and I talked about it in that pregame interview leading into the game in Madison, a lot was made of the rebounding margin on Thursday. And clearly, you know, having Eric Curry not on the floor impacted it. But I thought in terms of Curry, maybe the even bigger impact was Ohio State just kept going down low. Young and Key were getting some close-in shots, and even if they clanked it, there was an offensive chance to put it back. And Eric can change the whole dynamic of that situation.
Yeah, no, he changes everything. He physically is able to do it. Mentally, he's a smart player, so he understands, you know, positioning and just how to guard guys with technique and do his work early. So, you know, it's a game changer. When he's playing for us, you know, we're a totally different team on both sides of the ball. And two, you also have depth. You know, you have depth at that big spot. So, you know, again, our big thing is to hope that he took his time getting back and he continues to grow and get stronger and feel good because, you know, if we want to get on this winning streak, like I know we can, a big piece of that is making sure we have Eric in that lineup.
And Purdue's obviously got some size. I remember asking Matt Painter at a Final Four one year if he feels like he's cheating because he always has a 7-footer. Some years he has like 2 or 3. that they just rotate in. I mean, you can go down the list. So, why has he been able to be so throwback? And when people have kind of moved away from 7-footers, I know you have one, but they've certainly utilized the size for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, no, there's no question. That's obviously been a point in their recruiting where they've decided as a staff and style of play that they want to play big and at least have one, true, legit kind of throwback big. And they've done a good job. I mean, they've kind of recruited they've got a niche for it now where I think it's a lot easier for them to get, high level talented 7-foot kids because they've had so much success with them. But it's something now. It's kind of like their brand. When you play Purdue, you're going to play against true, legit bigs, and you're going to have to figure it out. And this year's obviously no exception. And you got a first team All Big Ten guy coming off the bench. It says a lot, it says a lot. And I think what it does is it just wears teams down. I think Edey's one of the best in the country, one or two at drawing fouls. And you look at their Ohio State game. Zed Key only played 11 minutes because he got into foul trouble the entire game. They just take you out of your rhythm. So you got to have depth at that spot versus them. You got to be able to play smart. But they've done a really good job of continually to find, bigs and utilize them in their philosophy and how they play.
Yeah, they have had, those guys. You think about Harms and who else is, and
AJ Hammond's back in the day.
Hammond's way back. You're right, and all down through Isaac Haas is another one, and a couple of those guys, Guardsy, they're not 7-footers. They're like, I want to say Edey is like 7'3". 7'4". That's like Randy Brewer throwback right there.
Yeah, Yeah, no, and Hammonds was a legit, 7 feet. He was long. Great shot blocker. Harms was over 7 feet, mobile. Haas was like Edey. Just you have height and girth. You can't move those guys, and it's really, you just don't see it. And so it's unique that, the Big Ten over the last couple of years has had that big of humans. It's just, I don't know how else you describe it, man.
Yeah, and they've had success. You think about even Juwan Johnson. Now, he wasn't maybe as thick as some of those guys, but, that was early in the Painter era, and obviously that group of guys had success. So and then way back, Guardsy, this is way before you and Coach Johnson were born, but they had Joe Barry Carroll way back in the day, got them to a Final Four in the early 80s, and then was, I think, a top 1 or 2 pick in the league. So they've got a track record.
We'll take your word for that one.
Yeah,
we'll take your word for that one.
Yeah,
I can't verify that. Yeah, we'll take your word for that.
Yeah, that was pre-Gene Katie even. But anyway, point being, they've had a long track record, as you said, Coach. And sometimes when you got the track record, you go out and recruit a big, he's going to look at that and say, that's where I'm going to play. No,
100%. I think especially because, bigs are used differently now. Those guys that have that size it makes sense to them. They're going to go somewhere where they've proven we do utilize 5 men. We're not going to go play small ball. That there's a place for you, and we play through you, and we develop you. We have a league that suits you. I think all that stuff, they've done a really good job in recruiting and selling. And like you said, when you have success, it's a lot easier to sell when you can say, here's 4 or 5 examples of guys that you resemble, are very similar to you. Look what we've done. Nobody else does it like we do.
So how do you simulate that when you're getting ready? You guys are creative and coming up with ways to simulate size. Not everybody's got a 7'3" guy laying around to go simulate that. So what's the process there?
Yeah, you really can't. You try, but you really can't. I think
tennis rackets.
It's the good part, I guess, is because we've gone against Hunter and Kofi.
Yep.
Our guy, it's not like the first time you're going against size like that. So they know what it feels like when you're at the rim. They understand ball screen coverage when we're talking about, how they drop and play it. They've seen that before. Now it's just more of what we try to emphasize is just with our post defense, not only on, X5 on their 5-man, but how we're going to play around them. And you more consume yourself with that. How are we going to defend them as a team? And how are we going to make those catches so they're not right at the rim?
Last one for you before the break. We talk about Purdue. They've got that identity as well, that maybe they haven't defended as well this year as maybe in years past, statistically or at least analytically, people would suggest that. But that said, the track I want to take on this question is you mentioned in your introductory news conference, and have mentioned it a couple of different times, that that might be Purdue, a program that you want to kind of pattern what they've done and implement it yourself. It's a guy who played there, has taken over as a relatively young head coach, and now wants to implement that tough grittiness that Purdue kind of over the years has shown. So kind of take us through what you can take from that program and implement yourself here.
I think it's a couple of things. I think it's style of play. I think it's fun. It's exciting. They're innovative offensively. They have really good flow. Offensively, they're more actions than just, structured set plays every single time. But I think more than anything, it's the recruiting piece. They do a great job of, not caring about, rankings or listings or stars or any of that stuff. They're more worried about, do they fit what we do? Do they fit a need? Do they impact winning? Do they know how to play the game? I think that's more important. I think everybody understands you have to have talent. I think if you're going out there thinking that you don't need talent in the best league in the country, you're crazy. So that goes without saying. There's no need, in my opinion, to talk about talent. Like, we're not sitting here trying to take, average dudes because they have a skill set and think we're going to be, ultra successful. I think it's finding the right guys that have the talent that maybe for whatever reason aren't getting all the scholarship look. Because there are a lot of guys out there, that they've had, that I've recruited in the past, that, the talent level's there, but there might be one thing that's maybe missing, or one thing that, doesn't just completely jump out at you. But there's 3 or 4 things that they see continuously that impact winning. I think that's more important, that you want guys that impact winning. It's everyone loves to win the press conference, and that's great. But then the next day, when they're your problem, you better be able to win with them. Otherwise, nobody cares. And so it's finding that balance of talent, but also the right talent that can play the game, that can produce wins.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have JG's long contested 2. We'll also have our question of the day. That is sponsored by the University of Minnesota Bookstore. If you have a question for Coach Johnson, you can go to gophersports.com/Ask the Coach. Submit your question. If yours is selected as the question of the week and we read it on the air, you'll receive a $25 gift card to the University of Minnesota Bookstore. We thank them for their support. Let's take a break. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield. Welcome back. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson, Mike Grimm, and Justin Gaard, along with the head coach, Ben Johnson. Tomorrow, Minnesota and number 4 Purdue at Williams Arena, 6 o'clock the tip. We take air at 5:30. Time for our Ask the Coach. It's the question of the week. It's sponsored by the University of Minnesota Bookstore. And Mary from White Bear Township will get the $25 gift card this week. We thank her for her question. She says, "Hi, Coach. During pregame warm-ups, the players and assistant coaches all come out. I noticed, though, the head coaches for both teams usually stay in the locker room until the national anthem. What do head coaches do during that time of final preparation?"
That's a great question, Mary.
Yeah.
Unbelievable
question.
Actually,
it is a pretty good one, because I've wondered that myself on occasion.
Yeah. It's funny. So as an assistant, you look at things completely different. So you never understand, why would a head coach, what's the big deal, right? Why would you not come out? And then when you become a head coach, you realize you get paranoid about every little thing. And so, like, a player could yawn and you're like, oh, he's not ready, he's tired. Oh my God. And then that gets in your head, or like, you could not like the body language or how they're going through warmups, and it can just totally get in your head. So I think that's one, is that most of us just want to stay away because you don't want to know, you don't want anything to, like, you want to think everything's perfect. You don't want to know any of the bad, right? But I think the other thing is you're still, I look at my play sheet. I think that's the time where I literally, try to go over in my head a lot of just different situations that might come up one last time, so that it's more, repetition. So when it happens, you're not delayed or stalled, that you're able to just move and react. So, I'll look at, the first play we're going to run to make sure, I explain it right and make sure the timing of it's right. I'll work at, the subbing to make sure, okay, this is the subbing pattern I want to have. You think about, your first ATO. All right, here's some, if this guy's not going, all right, I've highlighted this play. This is what we're going to go to. So I'm more organized in that way, just trying to make sure that the first, couple media timeouts are smooth and we got a game plan.
What's your time on the clock when you do come up? Do you have a set time?
Yeah, I normally try to come up at like 3:23. I leave my office and start walking up.
At like 3:23. Yeah, it's real vague.
Like 3. Yeah. It's bad, man. I used to play baseball, so I got all these horrible superstitions, and it's bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a problem if you're not careful. You got to manage those superstitions, man.
No, trust me. We were at Northern Iowa one year, and we had a walk-on. And for whatever reason, one day in my head, I'm watching him shoot, and I was like, in my head, I go, we were playing Wichita State. I was like, if he makes this shot, we're winning. And like he took like an NBA 3 and he made it, and I was like, oh, whoa, we're winning, and we won. And so from that point on, I did it, and we won 10 in a row. So before every game, he didn't know I was doing this. I would find him before I walked in, and I was like, all right, Hake, here we go. I'm like, if he makes this, we're winning. And no lie, for 10 straight games he made it. You better believe that 11th game when he missed, I was in my own head.
It was over?
It's over. Streak's over. We're lost. We got no chance. But, like, it's just little stupid stuff like that I think a lot of us do. So you try to stay out the way so you stay out your head, which is the dumb stuff.
And you were at Northern Iowa like 08, 09, 2000. I mean, that was a long time ago, and it's still in your head.
Yeah. It's everything, I mean, I remember a year here, I was in assistant. I think it was the year that we won every game in February. I washed it, but I didn't change, my suit, the pin, the same short and sock. I mean, everything. You don't really mess with it. Yeah. So,
yeah, I think, is it Mike Woodson? Didn't he have something going this year? And then he had to change suits. I think they had won like 4 or 5 in a row. And I saw in one of their games on TV, he told I think he told Provis was telling me that he finally,
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's honestly, it has no impact. I got some guys on my staff that'll tell me like, dude, that has no impact on wins or losses, but you're just, whatever you feel like can slightly give you confidence that like, we're winning this game. I think you got to take it and you got to run with it. The hard part is you don't want to have a million of them, because then you got to keep track of all of them as each game goes by. But there are definitely things that, as a head coach, you're like, you know what, if this can keep me motivated and keep me positive and it works, then you just got to ride with it.
Did you ever tell Hank? That you needed him after the fact?
I never told him. It was Brian. Yeah, Brian, I never told you. You're probably not listening, but it was the weirdest thing, man, because it literally, I would get nervous and I had to pick the right time. So like, you got to pick the right time to look at them. And then in your head, you're going, all right. And, you could have a ball hit it. It had to be something clean. And literally there was a time right around, like there was like the 11-minute mark where we would kind of go in and I give him one last look. All right, B-Hake. If this thing goes in, we're winning. And he did it 10 straight times. And the best part is, like I said, he had no idea that I was silently praying that he made the shot before we walked in.
Man, he made 10 straight shots. You guys should have played him a little,
Yeah, no. He knew his role. He did it just fine.
Well, that didn't come up in the interview, did it? Like when you were interviewing with Mark Coyle. So I remember he said something like, tell me why I should have confidence with you going up against Tom Izzo. And you said, well, here, Mark, I got a plan. Yes. We're going to have a walk-on. Yeah.
I'll tell you a story.
The shot, we're good. Did that come up?
No. So we have a manager, Gag, right, who was growing out his hair. And so the whole year, I finally noticed it probably maybe in Asheville. And I was like, man, Gag, you got a nice head of hair going right now. He's like, yeah. He's like, my mom's on me about cutting it. I said, well, you can't, right? He's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, dude, we're winning. You can't cut your hair. Like, I just noticed it. You can't cut it. So he did. He told his mom, like, I can't cut it. So he lasted, no lie. I swear to you, the day he cut it, we lost that next game. And I told him, I noticed. I said, dude, you cut your hair, right? I said, yeah. I said, when did you cut your hair? And he told me, I said, all right, put 2 and 2 together, Gag. And then he got all, a little flustered and everything. I said, I'm just telling you, it's stuff like that. Like Reggie Lynch. I think Reggie was playing really well, and Reggie changed his hair and cut it. And it was like the strings in your hair, dude. It wasn't the same. Like,
speaking of Purdue as the opponent tomorrow, one time Bruce Weber was telling me, and Bruce was the assistant for Gene Cady before he went on to Southern Illinois as a head coach and then on to Illinois and K-State, that Cady was big time superstitious. And at that time, you didn't have the staff size that you did now. So one of Weber's responsibilities as the assistant coach was travel. So he was setting up where the team would stay. And he said in the Big Ten, they'd run out of hotels because they'd go into Champaign and Illinois would beat them. And Gene would say, we're not staying at that place next year. And back then, Illinois, Champaign had 5 hotels. You lose 3 in a row. And he's like, we're down at a place that you're walking in from out in the parking lot, right? Yeah. There's no meeting room, but Gene wasn't going to stay at this place because they lost and this place because they lost. So it goes like literally into your everyday life.
No, the 100%. The one that gets me on the road is where you sit when you eat. So I'm big. All right. When you normally get in there, like we play on a Thursday, you get there Wednesday, you probably go to your rooms and then you end up eating a meal like 45 minutes after you get there. Well, my thing is, all right, when you get into the meeting room and you have all the tables, wherever you sit that first day, like that's your spot. That's where you go breakfast, dinner, lunch, pregame, the whole deal. So nothing's more annoying than, all right, man, we were here the night before. Everyone had a seat in their spot. You come back the next day for breakfast and dudes aren't sitting in the same spot. Like, what are you doing? No, you were sitting over here. Thor, you weren't at this table. You were over there. Like, we're keeping it consistent. And same thing, like, it'll mess me up. And when we talk to the team, we watch film, players are the same way. You claim your seat for film the first day or the first 2 days, and you don't move. Like, because then I know as a coach, like, I'll look out there and I'll know where guys are sitting, and you can tell, like, okay, we got to wait on so-and-so, or so-and-so's getting taped because I know he sits there, he's not there. Or if they're out sick, you get the weird feeling because the spacing is different. So you can't be that guy that chooses to sit in a different seat in film, because that'll mess everybody up, mess the players up. It's like, what are you doing? That's not where you sit. Same thing with the bus.
Yeah, no doubt. And the bus on the last trip and had a table in the middle, where you could play cards. So that screwed up some of the seating as well. It is what it is. Part of the problem. All right.
I think Mary needs 2 gift cards because she spun us off on maybe the best stretch 4 uncontested 2 segment we've ever had. So Mary, thanks for listening. Good stuff. And now I get to save my stretch. My stretch 4 was blue chips related, Ben. So we're gonna get to blue chips at some point during the season.
Sounds like a beauty for next week.
Maybe.
Good. Yeah.
Well, because Matt Painter was an extra in that movie. That was the whole. See, there's always a process, Mike. There's a process to the stretch 4.
I know you do your homework for this show.
You do your homework. You don't just wing this thing.
I don't just roll in and turn on the camera. No, this is a big deal.
Prep.
And never chokes. Never chokes either.
I also noticed the play hard towel behind you.
Oh yeah, look at
that's
that.
a new one. You didn't have that last week.
We're setting it up.
Yeah, you didn't have that last week.
No, I couldn't find it on time. Now we got it. Yeah, we got this. This
play
is an addition.
hard.
So if we get the win tomorrow night, it'll be there the rest of the year. If we lose, it's off. It's over. I got it.
As we are doing the show here, Guardsy behind him, for those that are listening on the radio, has a play hard towel, and good stuff. The
kid
play hard towel.
The people my age and older will know what it means. The young bucks, they don't know, but they will. They will one day. They will one day, is what I've been told from a higher up in the program. They will.
Someone that can make changes, right? No
Correct.
Doubt. All right. We need to take a break here. We're a little overdue, so let's do that. We want to thank Sunbelt Business Advisors for sponsoring the show. Visit them at sunbeltminnesota.com. Stay with us. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield. Welcome back. It's our final segment, Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson. Tomorrow it's Minnesota and Purdue. We'll get a Boilermaker scouting report here in a moment. 6 o'clock is that tip-off at Williams Arena. Tickets at gophersports.com. Before we get that scouting report, though, Coach, I did want to ask you about Amir Coffey, the former Gopher, has put together a really incredible 6-week stretch. I think he had 27 last night for the Clippers again. I mean, he's just rolling. I know you were a key recruiter in getting him to come to Minnesota, and obviously a legacy get with his dad playing here, Richard playing here as well. What have you been tracking that, and have you been in touch with Amir at all about the stretch he's had here in the NBA?
Yeah, no, it's been pretty cool to watch and follow. I text with him a bunch. obviously throughout this course of his career, but, you know, especially this year and his last couple of weeks, you know, to be able to see him not only achieve his goal of making it, but now in a contract year when what's most important, you know, he's being a major producer of what their team's trying to do. And so now he's positioned himself. He's gonna stick. And I think that's the ultimate goal is, you know, hopefully this is leads him to a really good payday and just leads him to that longevity, you know, leads him to a guy who's able to be in that league, you know, 10, 12, 15 years, because I think he's definitely more than capable of doing that.
We talked about the track record at Purdue with the bigs and those kind of things. Can Amir's success help you when you go out on a recruiting pitch now? I mean, it had been a while since the Gophers had some people contributing in that league.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. You know, him and I think Daniel ended up making his way back too. You know, he's just got to find his niche, but I think he's going to be on the right path here sooner than later. But it definitely helps to have those two guys. It helps to, you know, you can fall back on other players that you might have recruited or coached that are at that level, because every kid that we, you know, talk to or have on a visit, that's their aspirations, that they want to play at that highest level. So whenever you can say, hey, the blueprint works, or I've had a guy make it, it just gives backing to kind of everything that you're preaching and selling.
Well, and the cool thing about Amir is, I mean, he had to overcome some stuff, right? I mean, he was injured in high school, which probably affected, you know, his career there. Obviously got injured his sophomore year here with his shoulder, but dude just kept working, right? I mean, had a great junior year, obviously came on, you know, the last couple of months, basically willed him into the NCAA tournament, but even in the NBA, betting on himself with a two-way deal. Like, that's a good story in of itself, you know, regardless of if he plays, where he played. But it's great to show anybody on your team or elsewhere, just keep grinding, just keep working, just keep trusting the process, and you're going to end up where you want to end up.
Yeah, it's like, you know, we talk about with wins, you just want to be in the room. I think that's the first goal, is how do you get in the room? And then once you're in the room, then it's just navigating it and being a competitor and finding a way to stick. And that's exactly what he's done. You know, he's put himself in the room, and when the opportunity presented itself, he's had a ton of success.
Well, let's quickly get it. We've talked about Purdue quite a bit in the show, but let's just quickly get a scouting report. We've talked about their bigs and those kind of things. What will be, you know, something that the Gophers will need to do tomorrow night to get a win on the home floor?
No, they're a tough scout for a lot of reasons. You know, they not only have two all-league bigs, but they have a ton of shooting and production around them. You know, Mason Gillis at the 4 spot is playing some of his best basketball. You know, just dominating the glass, playing with physicality, making seems like every open shot. Now, obviously, Jaden Ivey's electric. You know, you watch that kid, reminds you of Latrell Sprewell. I mean, just a live body. So we're going to have our hands full. We got to do a great job in transition. And then in the half court, you know, find a way to shrink it on their bigs, but then also stay home on their shooters. You know, they do a really good job of spacing the floor. So you got to be able to do both. It's going to be, you know, a challenging assignment, but, you know, nothing's impossible. And I think if we continue to play with the competitive spirit that we've had, again, we just want to give ourselves a chance at home to be in a position to last, you know, 2-3 minutes to win.
All right.
And how do you navigate? Oh, are we done?
With the clock.
We're out of time.
Guardsy, save that one for next week as well.
All right, I'll write it down so I don't forget. Mary, thanks again for the great stretch 4.
And Coach, we will see you tomorrow night at Williams Arena. Hopefully a big crowd, a loud crowd. It can certainly have an impact. 6 o'clock the tip. We'll see you then.
Definitely sounds good.
All right, for Justin Gaard and Ben Johnson, this is Mike Grimm. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield.